So today we're going to take a look at a scenario where the G20 goes to war with the world. Now if you don't know what the G20 is, it's basically a group of 19 countries and the European Union and the African Union. It works to address major issues related to the global economy, such as international financial stability, climate change mitigation, and sustainable development. With that out of the way, I've chosen not to include the African Union and the European Union in this video, just because it would make for a much more interesting scenario. Before we get into the fighting, please like and subscribe to the channel. It is greatly appreciated. And yeah, let's get into the scenario. So as you can see here, the G20 is comprised of basically the world's most powerful countries. We have the US, we have Russia, we have China, all on the same team. And it's not really that fair. So we're actually going to be starting down here in America, or in the Caribbean to be more exact. The US will begin to invade Cuba and the Bahamas, and Mexico will begin to invade in Central America, taking out Guatemala and Belize. The US takes out Cuba with relative ease, and they take out the rest of the Mediterranean as well. We have Argentina and Brazil pushing to Uruguay, and this doesn't go well for the little country, as Uruguay capitulates very quickly. They also begin to push into Paraguay, and this will go by rather quickly as well. Elsewhere, we have South Africa taking out Lesotho and Eswatini, and starting a campaign into Mozambique. We have the UK invading into Ireland, and this goes rather quickly for the UK. And we have France and Germany working together to take out the Benelux. Again, this goes pretty quickly. Now, I should probably say that NATO and other alliances like that don't really exist, since, well, everybody is on the same team, so it'd be kind of pointless. We also have Russia pushing down into Georgia with the help of Turkey. Never thought I'd be saying that. And we have Russia pushing into Ukraine. We have China, Japan, and South Korea working together to take out North Korea. Again, never thought I'd be saying that. And this campaign goes very quickly too, as South Korea falls. We have China taking out Taiwan, and India taking out Sri Lanka. Indonesia takes out East Timor, and they start a campaign into Papua New Guinea. They focus mostly along the coast, and with help from Australia, they do quickly take out the main island. We have Australia making a landing in New Zealand, and this goes pretty quickly as well, and they take out the northern island as well. We have Russia and China working together to take out Mongolia. China has to push through the Gobi Desert, and that's going to be much rougher than what Russia has to go through. But the country does capitulate very quickly. We also have Russia pushing to Kazakhstan. They make multiple campaigns, and with the aid of China, they push in from the east. And for a change, we actually have Pakistan pushing into India. We also have the joint Middle East, including Iran, Egypt, Iraq, and other countries, pushing into Saudi Arabia. This goes quite well for them as they push out from all along their borders in the north. Saudi Arabia does manage to take out Kuwait, and they begin to push into UAE. They also push into Yemen, as well as Oman. We have Canada making a landing in Greenland, and this goes well for them because there's no people here, so pretty easy to invade. And they also take over Iceland with the help of the UK. And eventually Denmark does surrender the island. And now that there's no other countries near Canada they can invade, they're now going to split up with troops and go to South America as well as Europe. And we have Italy making a landing in Tunisia and pushing down along the coast. They also push into the Balkans through Slovenia and Croatia. And again, they push down the coast into Bosnia and Herzegovina. Germany and Italy push across and meet up in Austria and continue to push into the country. Germany pushes into Czechia, as well as into Denmark, taking the country in only 4 hours. From there, they push into Sweden. France pushes into Spain, taking out Catalonia, as well as these islands. We see Russia and Turkey taking out Armenia and Azerbaijan, and then they push into Iran. We do actually see Greece and Bulgaria pushing into Thrace and capturing Istanbul. This is a pretty big blow to Turkey, and they force to reorganize some of their troops, and they do take back the city, as well as the rest of their country. From here, they push into Greece as well as Bulgaria, and this goes very well for them. They also manage to take out Cyprus, and they push into Syria. They take out some of the Greek islands, and they make a landing on this island here. Eventually, they push up and they capture Athens, and pretty soon Greece surrenders. South Africa is pushed out along all its borders, and they now invade up into the rest of Africa. They even make a landing in Madagascar and take out the southern half of the island / country. Back in the Americas, Brazil and France take out smaller countries here, Guyana and Suriname, and they push into Venezuela. Brazil and Argentina take out Paraguay. Eventually the country surrenders, and Argentina begins to invade into Chile. Take out the rest of these southern islands, and eventually the southern part of their country falls over to Argentina. And they continue to push up along the coast, not wanting to go through the Andes Mountains. Mexico and the US continue to push through Central America, now reaching Nicaragua, and continuing to push through. This goes very well for them, as this is mostly weaker countries. They are halted, however, when they reach the Panama Canal. South Africa continually goes up along the coast of Africa, and these countries do surrender. From here they push up into Angola, but do eventually have to come to a halt as other African forces are coming to their aid. They do, however, continue to push up along the coast of Mozambique, and Saudi Arabia takes out all of Yemen and most of Oman. They take out the UAE, but at the price of using a lot of land up north. Russia makes a greater push into Ukraine, capturing the Crimean Peninsula. Eventually they push up and towards the capital of Kyiv, eventually taking it, and this basically secures the downfall of Eastern Europe. Russia invades into Belarus, quickly taking their capital, and they spearhead towards Kaliningrad, eventually taking and surrounding the area. Belarus surrenders, and Russia pushes out into the Baltics. We do see Finland pushing out into the Kolan Peninsula, cutting it off from Russia. Eventually they take over the whole thing. They also make a push towards St. Petersburg. We see Italy being kicked out of Africa and Tunisia, and we see the African countries making a landing in Yemen. Iran makes a landing in the UAE, eventually pushing back the Saudi Arabians, and they take back a lot of Oman. India and China push back Pakistan, completely kicking them out of India, and then they begin their own invasion of Pakistan as well. They take their capital, and they take out most of the eastern half of the country. Russia and China work together to take out Central Asia. They work into the stands, taking out Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. They eventually reach Afghanistan, but it's very difficult to invade here, so they don't quite go in yet. They do take out Turkmenistan, and begin to invade into Iran. Turkey and Russia continue to push into Iran from the west, and into Iraq and Syria. Italy and Turkey take out most of the Balkans, meeting up with Russia in southern Ukraine. France makes a greater push into Spain, capturing most of the northern area, even making it into Portugal. Germany begins an invasion of Poland, pushing over, meeting up Russia in Warsaw. Eventually Russia takes all of Ukraine and pushes down to Romania. Poland surrenders, and Czechia and Slovakia are both captured. They take all of Austria, and they even managed to take over Switzerland. Obviously, that took a while. They invaded into Hungary, taking over the country, and the rest of the Balkans fall. Russia continues its invasion of the Baltics, taking over them with ease, and they now push back against Finland in the north, pushing them back to their border, and starting their own invasion. They take their capital, and from here, it doesn't go well for Finland. They also push into southern Sweden, as well as Norway. Australia and Indonesia take out the rest of these oceanic islands, and they start an invasion into Malaysia and Brunei. They take out this country with relative ease and begin to push up into Thailand. They also make a landing in the Philippines, and they take over the southern island. China and India do manage to take out Nepal and Bhutan, even though mountains are there, but they don't care. They take out Bangladesh, and they invade into Myanmar. China pushes into Vietnam and Laos, and makes a broader front line into southeastern Asia. Eventually the Philippines are captured, and Brazil begins to push into Bolivia. The Americans and Mexicans push across the Panama Canal, now reaching into Colombia, and now South America has to fight a two-front war. Colombia falls relatively easily to the Americans, same with Venezuela, and eventually these countries are forced into surrendering. They invade into Ecuador, taking out the small country very quickly, and they now reach Peru. They push along the coast because they don't want to go through the mountains and the rainforest, and Argentina continues taking out Chile. We have the African armies pushing back South Africa and Angola, as well as in Mozambique. We have Madagascar pushing them back, completely liberating the southern half of the island, and the African countries continue to push towards South Africa. France eventually takes out all of Iberia, and they make the jump into Morocco and Algeria. Russia takes out Svalbard, as these islands fall quickly. Turkey takes out Syria and Lebanon and invade into Israel. It is now that the Middle East is forced to remove a lot of their troops from Saudi Arabia in order to protect their own land. Turkey continues to push into Iraq and Iran with the help of Russia, and they eventually meet the border of Egypt. They then push into Egypt, and they meet the Suez Canal, eventually jumping over it and taking over Cairo and Alexandria. They take over Jordan, and Iraq surrenders. This fully liberates Saudi Arabia, and they now take out Kuwait, and now they too push into Iran. This forces Iran to take their troops out of Southern Arabia, and the UAE falls, and so does Oman. Saudi Arabia kicks out the African armies in Yemen, and they make the jump into Djibouti and Eritrea. A landing is made in southern Iran by the Saudi Arabians, and they push up very successfully. They go along the coast, meeting up with their other front line. Argentina and Brazil continue to push into Bolivia. Eventually take out most of the country, and they surrender. Eventually Chile does surrender over to Argentina, and they take out all of Peru's coast. And this forces the country to surrender. Now with the Americas all red, their armies can now focus in on the Eastern Hemisphere. China and India continue to push into Southeast Asia, taking out most of Vietnam, all of Laos, and beginning to push into Cambodia. Continuing to push into Thailand and Myanmar, taking out most of their coast. And India and Saudi Arabia take out all the coast of Iran and Pakistan. Eventually Pakistan surrenders, and the greater push into Iran and Afghanistan starts. Eventually their capital is captured, and Afghanistan surrenders. And soon after that, Iran does as well. We now see the surrender of Cambodia, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. Now really all that's left is Africa, and they don't really want to fight a war, and so now both sides are going to meet for peace. As you can see in this peace treaty, a lot happened. All of the G20 countries expanded greatly, and let's take a look at how much they actually expanded. In North America, Canada got all of Greenland and half of Iceland. They have to split it with the UK. The US annexed all of the Caribbean, turning them into states, and Mexico annexed all of Central America. France expanded French Guiana, and Brazil took over Uruguay, parts of Paraguay, Bolivia, Peru, and other countries. Argentina annexed all of Chile, and parts of Bolivia and Paraguay. We also saw unification between Ecuador, Colombia, and Peru, as they were all crippled and suffering after the war. South Africa annexed most of the countries on its borders, and about half of Zambia and Mozambique, who united together after the war. In the Middle East, Saudi Arabia took over all of the Arabian Peninsula and parts of Iran, as well as Egypt. Turkey annexed all of Bulgaria and Greece, as well as Syria and Lebanon, and parts of Iraq and Iran. The UK annexed all of Ireland, and like I said earlier, half of Iceland. France took most of Spain, as well as Belgium, and they turned the rest of Iberia into a puppet state, and they also have a bit of land in Morocco and Algeria. Italy annexed a lot of the Balkan countries, and Germany annexed Austria, parts of Czechia, Poland, Sweden, and all of Denmark. They also united together what was left of Slovakia and Czechia after Russia and Germany got their pieces. All of these Eastern European countries have all been turned into puppet states, and Russia annexed almost every country in Eastern Europe. They got a piece out of Finland, but Finland also got a lot of land in northern Russia, as this was really the only gains by the blue team. As you can see from here, Russia is now huge. They annexed almost all of Central Asia, the Caucasus, and parts of Mongolia. China took Taiwan, parts of Southeast Asia, and Central Asia, as well as northern North Korea. South Korea took southern North Korea. Indonesia took Papua New Guinea and parts of Malaysia and Brunei. And Australia annexed most of these oceanic islands, including New Zealand. And that is all. If you did enjoy this video, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please comment below. Thanks again for watching.